All right, so today we're gonna talk about squat wedges. So if you guys aren't familiar with the purpose of the wedge, what it's gonna do is it's gonna help us get some extra mobility out of this ankle, not real mobility, but fake mobility in a way. And it's gonna allow us to put more load on the muscles that go around the knee, which is gonna be the quad. So set up for this is you want the ball of your foot to be on the floor, okay, and the rest of your foot supported by the wedge. What the wedge does is it tilts my foot this way, brings the heel that way, which simulates my ability like, oh, I could bend the ankle further that way. So this is giving me artificial ankle mobility, if you will. What that does, it allows me to drive the knee further in this direction. The further the knee goes that way, there's gonna be more load on the quad musculature that's going around that knee. So two reasons that I can wanna do this. One, it's just gonna help me get more depth to overcome ankle mobility, or whether you have good or bad ankle mobility, doesn't matter. It is gonna always help me get more quadriceps, or at least give me the ability to use more quads in that particular exercise. The limitation of a traditional wedge is you need to be lined up with the feet parallel. So I'm gonna flip the wedge here. So as long as I'm lined up this way and the knee is traveling this way, everything is okay. But with most people, they have to have some sort of external rotation or opening of the hips in order to accommodate the range of motion they need at the hip. Otherwise, what happens is this bone starts running into the pelvis and you'll see people round over, they will get the butt wink or whatever. So there needs to be a certain openness of the stance for them to be able to flex fully at the hip. The problem that presents is if you look, if I go to an open stance and I get here, now the foot angle does not match the wedge angle. And the reason that becomes complicated is what it does is it creates a pitching in. And as you can see, as I start to pitch this in, it causes this tibia to rotate and it makes that knee want to cave. So you'll see like when people do this, they'll have a tendency to want to maybe lose the arch in that foot a little bit more. And so what you're doing is you're constantly fighting this stability here of trying to drive the knees out. What that's gonna do is it's gonna take tension out of the glute max. It's gonna put it onto some of those external rotators. Ultimately, it just ends up being a less efficient squat and it puts some force to the knee that can give some people some pain. So if you use this wedge and you're using it for quad dominant stuff and you're working in this range, it's absolutely an amazing tool to get more quads. But if you're one of those people that has to have an open stance, or you want to squat in a stance that's gonna be more overlapped with say what you would do for a non-wedge squat or a powerlifting squat, or you want to focus on a full squat or get more glutes involved, what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to train this way with open up hips like this, but with the same advantage of the wedge. So that's where the solos come in. So with the solos, what we have is the same capabilities as the regular wedge, but now we have the ability to open these up. So what that means is if I need to open up my stance to accommodate hip mobility, now I can get the same advantage from the regular wedge, but in line with the ankle and the foot. So if I take my foot here again, and we imagine now we have somebody who has an open stance and is going through the squat position, now there's nothing that's gonna be causing this foot to tilt in because the wedge is actually right in line with the foot. The other thing that this is so good with is when people are learning to squat, a lot of times they have no idea what to do with this. Their knees are flopping all over the place, no control. What a wedge does is this is gonna provide a kind of cue that just kind of drives their leg that way. So when people sit up on this and they get this angle set up for what they need, this basically functions as a guide exactly where their knee is supposed to go. So the squat basically becomes effortless, it becomes better for the knee, and what this is gonna do is it's gonna allow you to have more variations in your squat, whether you wanna do more full squats, whether you wanna do actually a little bit of hip dominant squat, but you still wanna have a little bit of an elevation for some ankle mobility. You have way more options with this, and it's a much better tool, especially in terms of transfer over to your non-heel elevated squats and hack squats.